So number one, we start off by saying and directing this wasiyah, or this advice to our sisters. Number one is that majority of our sisters, when they enter the fold of Islam, especially when they are people who have recently become Muslim, a lot of women do not realize why they are covering or why they are leaving off certain matters and why they are performing certain acts and duties and who they doing it for. Number one is that we all were created for the worship of Allah wa ta'ala. We know that. As Allah wa ta'ala says in His book, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ الرِّزْقِ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينُ. Allah wa ta'ala says in His book, He says, as we all know, I'm not created jinn and ins except to worship me. So that's the basis and the foundation of why everyone was created. Likewise, those who have been created from Adam, meaning from the rib of Adam, is likewise Hawa, who was a female. So Allah Ta'ala created men and women to to worship Him alone. That's number one. So to get straight to the point, because we want to take a lot of time in this, because we want to get directly into the book, so when a woman becomes a Muslim, she has to rectify herself and have her goals and have her mind straight before she can make and aid anyone else. There's a lot of women these days, a lot of our sisters these days rely on finding comfort in a man in order to rectify herself. And that's incorrect. She needs to rectify herself before she can rectify and help and aid someone else. And that also in regards to our men, as we'll talk about, inshallah. Her mind has to be straight somewhat. And as we'll talk about, women by their natural disposition are not straight. Because we will talk about that. We're going to talk about that, inshallah. Don't worry. Rather, it's a type of crookedness in which Allah made in women. It's something they can't deny. Because Allah said that He created them crooked. Yes. So it's not the fact that, so you men, you just being... La. That's what Allah Ta'ala said. He made a woman like that. Created her crooked. For a reason, which we'll talk about, inshallah. Don't worry. But we'll also speak and talk about how it's incumbent upon the man to realize, if he knows that he should be more kind to her. Men take it as the opposite. They'll say she crooked, so that means for me to take advantage, to speak ill about her, talk down to her, and belittle her, and be belligerent, and speak her out of her name. La. It's supposed to be done in a manner so you can treat her more kindly. You understand, everyone? So number one, when a sister comes in the fold of Islam, it's binding upon her to realize that she was created to worship Allah. That's number one. And that she has to start with her rectifying herself before she can aid and rectify someone else. Because a lot of situations in America, and this is a side point, a lot of situations in America here in the West, a lot of our sisters have become Muslim and they'll cover, and it's usually because of a side relationship with a man. And they're covering their face or they're covering their body. You want me to do it? The man. It's all connected with the man. She's covering for the man. She's praying 5 times a day for the man. She's doing certain affairs of, for example, cooking for the man. Everything is for the man. Incorrect. Wrong. Because once that man leaves, and as soon as something goes wrong, what do? You go back to taking off the jilbab, doing everything was impermissible, and then the woman will say, and then you ask the sister, what happened? The man hurt me. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's the reason why you're in the state you're in now. You did it for who? You did it for who? You did it for the man, or did you do it for Allah? For if a woman did it for Allah, if a woman did it for Allah, Ta'ala, she would know that even though the man might have treated her improperly and dealt with her in a manner that opposed or went against the Kitab and Sunnah, she still will continue in her religion and being steadfast upon that. Even if the relationship, not the relationship, but the marriage, even though the marriage didn't work out, I'm not going to say relationship because we need to specify that. Marriage, that if the marriage did not work out, then she continues being steadfast upon her religion. And that goes back to the asl, or the origin we just laid down, which is what? That she does not do any type of act of worship except it's for who? For Allah Ta'ala. She covers for Allah. She leaves off putting weaves in her hair for Allah. She leaves off plucking her eyebrows and shaping them up like the kuffar women or the kafir women do for Allah. She's also offers herself and beautifies herself because she's earning the pleasure of Allah. She's trying to make her house comfortable for her husband for Allah. She's decorating herself and getting herself prepared for her husband at night for Allah, because she knows through her husband's pleasure, she's going to earn the pleasure of her Lord. And it's not the fact that her heart is tied in towards the man. Rather, her heart is tied in with Allah Ta'ala first. That's number one. Because all those acts, they are acts of worship. They are acts of worship. Her leaving off and her doing obedience. Because rewards is based upon two things, as we know. Number one is carrying out an affair. And number two is leaving off what is impermissible. And your person will receive a reward for both. What is to carry out those commands and those duties that Allah has obliged upon everyone to perform. And likewise, leaving off affairs in which Allah has made unlawful. If a person does it for his pleasure and seeking out his face, then he receives that reward. So all those acts that a woman does, her covering, is for Allah. Her leaving off perfume and going outside and people can smell that scent from her. All that she's doing and leaving off those affairs for Allah. Not putting weaves in her hair, she's doing it for Allah. She's covering for Allah. She's doing all these things for Allah Ta'ala, not for a man. And that's the number one thing we want to lay down before we start talking about these issues, because they keep constantly coming up, or they keep constantly happening on so many occasions. You find the women, the reason why they left off being steadfast in their religion, because they always say, the man hurt me. A man hurt me. A man hurt me. That's the reason why I'm like this. A man hurt me. This is the reason why I'm doing this. Why you got a weave in your hair? Man hurt me. Why you plucking your eyebrows now and shaping them up? Man hurt me. Why you wearing tights? Man hurt me. What was your religion for then? You understand, everyone? So number one is we lay down the aqidah, lay down the belief in the correct creed, which is what, everyone? That a woman, that she does all her affairs for Allah and rectifying herself first, because the aqidah and the pure aqidah in which the companions were upon, who are the salaf, that is what's going to help rectify your mind. Because you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ have focused on this affair, purifying the ubudiyyah and the worship of Allah for 13 years in Mecca. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ was trying to get the people's mind straight and building their ma'rifah of Allah, building their knowledge of Allah first, which is the most important. Because if you establish that and deep rooted in the people, then what comes after it is going to be what? It's going to be easy, and the people are going to practice it because they know they're doing it for Allah. So once a person lays down his foundation of his ma'rifah, of his knowledge of Allah, Ta'ala, and having good dealings with his Lord, then she's going to have good dealings with the people. If a person has good dealings with his Lord and has knowledge of his Lord, and the foundation is deep rooted, then what comes as a result of it, the rest of the acts of the slaves will be what? Correct. In all the branches and all the subsidiary matters, meaning in the branches, whether it be in. And when we say branches, we mean by that which is covering herself, covering her body, leaving all perfume. Those are from the fudur. That's from fiqh. That's not from the usul, that's from fiqh, that's from the fiqhiyat, or the furu'iyat, from the subsidiary matters of the branches. Covering up, leaving all perfume, treating her husband nice, being respectful in the household to her husband. All that is from what? the branches. But those acts will not be correct unless the what? The foundation is correct. If the foundation is correct and she learned her aqidah, then likewise, we said, the rest of her actions are going to be what, everyone? Are going to be sound and upright and correct. And if it doesn't work out in the end, she still has her usul with her. She still has her foundation with her. Because at the end of the day, okay, brother, I didn't work out. I'm still going to be an upright Muslimah because I did it for Allah. And I'm going to continue my life in being upright with my Lord, even though you treated me bad. Understand, everyone? Is it clear? So that's number one. Number one is what? To woman, for the sister, to know that everything she does, she's doing it for Allah ta'ala. She's not doing it for a man. Because that's a problem in a lot of relationships, and you'll find sisters that were strong in their religion, or they manifest to us being strong in their religion. Then, like we said, because of a sour relationship, she turns back on her heels and she goes back to that old state that she was prior before her being Muslim, which is an evil state. And that's a plot of Shaytan, especially for our women, for our sisters who we're concerned about. That's a door in which Shaytan leads the women down the road of destruction. To a lot of them, because of sour relationships. It's a door from Shaytan. As far as men, of course, we're plagued with something else, which we'll talk about on a later occasion. We'll talk about that, inshallah. A lot of men, if it don't work out with one woman, they just get married again. A lot of us, our fitna is not in there. But for those fitna, when the trials for our sisters, it is that, a man. So number one is her worship is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a woman tries to rectify herself before she can aid and rectify someone else. That she works on herself and have her mind straight and trying to educate herself and knowing her rights as likewise the rights of her husband before she gets married. Number one, she purifies her worship for Allah. Number one.